All right, let's bring us in. And
What's up, Totally Naked Nation? It is your girl Dom, and we have the usual suspects April, Jax. Unfortunately, Dante couldn't be here with us today, but we do have a special guest, and that special guest is the mother of our very own Robert Jackson's children, Pashe. Woo! We're so excited to have her on this show, y'all. We're going to be breaking it down for y'all when we get to that portion of the show. But before we get there, we have another soapbox hot topic situation um, that we were talking about prior to the show. And of course, we're bringing it to the show. I'm going to kick this off and send it over to my girl April because she got a little bit more details for us.
okay.
And then we're going to jump into the main course.
All right. Well, first and foremost, happy Father's Day to Jack.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yes, like we're gonna give you gold star for father of the decade. Yes. But to all the fathers out there that watch and follow us, we love you. We just think the world of you. I think that so often that men don't get the recognition that they as much recognition as women. And I think that especially for those fathers who are doing what God has intended for them to do, which is to lead, to be able to rear their children and bring them up in a godly manner. Like that should be recognized. And I think the world of Jackson for that. Like he is an example of what a man and what fatherhood looks like. But then I think at the end of the day, there are tons of fathers that don't always get that recognition. So we admire you. We love you guys today. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Happy Father's Day, Jax.
Thank you.
Speaking of fathers, all right. So we got Donald Trump as a father, as we have Obama. So this is what happened. All right. So I'm going through one of my feeds just earlier this week. And I'm looking and I see a picture of Obama and it said Happy Obama Day. And I was just so thrilled. And it was like, I think they even referenced that it was Obama's birthday. And so my birthday's May 26th. And I know that I don't, as Christians, sometimes we look at zodiacs and we be like, a zodiac, I don't know, but I'm a Gemini. And so Geminis get a lot of flack about us being, wishy-washy, whatever. But Gemini's in the house. So I'm like, oh, snap. Obama's a Gemini too. Yes. So I'm like, the president of the United States, the first African-American president of the United States who looked like me is a Gemini. I could be a president too. So I was just thrilled. I was so happy. So I go and look it up and I'm like, I didn't even know that President Obama, I can't believe that he's a Gemini. And I go and look and it wasn't President Obama's birthday. And in fact, it was Donald Trump's birthday. So, to my dismay, Donald Trump is a Gemini, just like myself. So I was shocked to see that Donald Trump was the one that was a Gemini and not President Obama. But anyway, so the thing is like everybody just went on this bandwagon of posting pictures of President Obama on June 14th as Obama Day. So it's Obama Day because nobody's feeling President Trump. So I just thought that was the most interesting thing and wanted to know what you guys thought about. Were y'all celebrating Obama Day?
I was not celebrating Obama Day, but I was. Anybody who knows me knows I love petty. I love pettiness. For some reason, it's a guilty pleasure. So my thing is for them to turn Trump's birthday into Obama Appreciation Day was just, for me, it was hysterical. Like it is, I think it's great because you know how much he disdains Obama, how much he doesn't like Obama, how much he wants to change everything Obama ever did. And for people to flip it was great. Like I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna tell y'all the truth too. So I didn't really know what was going on. I just opened up my social media and I seen all these Obama pictures and everything like that. So I'm just like, okay, they tried it. Like they trying to make this a Barack Obama Day. Now I'm not gonna tell y'all no lie. I'm not gonna be. I gotta be truthful. This is Totally Naked. I said, dang, I wanted to jump on that bandwagon so bad. But that Christian was rising up, Holy Spirit's rising up in me. You know what I'm saying? So I did not participate. But let me tell you, okay, that flesh side was Black Lives Matter all day, Obama Day. Because
You know, Obama Dan
unfortunately,
you didn't post this picture up.
I didn't post this picture up. No, because Holy Spirit was like, slow your roll, slow down, slow down.
She just liked other people's pictures.
I just liked everybody else. Yes, but let's draw some attention to a particular person, right? Celebrity. Let's bring our attention to Israel Houghton, and then we can move on, right? Because Israel Houghton, his Holy Spirit wasn't kicked up like mine, and he posted Obama's picture. Okay, now when he posted Obama's picture, everybody was jumping on, being negative and being nasty and doing all these other kind of things. Now he's a Christian, obviously he's a Christian artist, and there were other Christians, other believers on his timeline, throwing shade, throwing dust, and all this other kind of thing. We even saw his wife say, "Hold on, swole down, y'all not gonna come for my man." Okay, shout out to Adrienne Ballon. All right. Now, but what I do want to point out is how Israel Houghton handled his criticism. And I want to highlight him on this Good Father's Day for it, because although he was getting slack, he was in there. And I would have to say this probably is a Jack spirit that was laid upon Israel, and he just didn't know it at the time. But he went on there with the nice nasty, and I just loved it. It was, "Oh, God bless you." It's all right. God bless you. God loves you. Absolutely. And I wanted to point out that although he was being criticized for his viewpoint, and although he was being criticized for his level of petty activity, okay, he still did not allow his response, which we are responsible for our own responses. He did not allow his response to be brought down to the level of the person whom we were not trying to honor on that day. Okay. And I just want to let everybody out there know, Christian especially, but even if you're not a Christian, we still need to allow ourselves to be seen and represented in a certain light, because as of right now, diminishing that man is not the goal. The goal right now is that we need to continue to bring light on the social injustices that are happening in our society today. And we need to continue to tread the journey, tread the path towards that. I don't want us to get so consumed with trying to bash somebody who, not to say that the men don't deserve a little bashing, okay, because he do, but we have a bigger goal in mind. And that's my piece of the soapbox. I want us to stay focused on a bigger goal at mind, because a whole day was dedicated to Obama Day, and it was nobody talking about no social injustice progression that day. So I just don't want us to lose sight of while we are, pushing this train forward.
Right. Okay. So fun shade for a little bit, but at the end of the day, there are bigger goals and bigger fish to fry.
Absolutely.
Right. I think you touched on something. I think you touched on something well, and we'll go right on. But my thing is, and I want to reiterate that it's okay for you not to like Trump, and that's fine, but that should not be the reason that you vote for someone else, if that makes sense. Know something about these candidates and these other people that is going to support you and going to support your community, not just, oh, we got to get this guy to office. And the silly thing that I see from a lot of Democrats is that is their platform, is that we got to get rid of Trump. And that's not, for me, that's not a solid trap. That's not a solid platform. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just not, that's not a good enough reason for me to vote.
Well, listen, the way he handled COVID-19 and the way he done handled Black Lives Matter, at this point, I get that. I get that. See, but the thing is, at this point, he got to go. However, you made valid points.
But see, you are absolutely right. And because of that, I know where I can't vote. But how do I know I can vote for you if your only thing is, let's not have that again? Like, you need to bring something, like have a platform, not just we need to get rid of that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. We holding everybody accountable. We holding
everybody being held accountable. But just know this:
everybody
in November, you know who you cannot vote for. So you figured out from that point, because we just can't. You figured out from there, but we just know who we cannot vote for.
And vote in your primaries, please. Those smaller voting days mean more to you than just the presidency. I'm just throwing that out there on the podcast.
Facts and facts. If you're not voting on the city and state level, what you doing?
Nothing.
I'll wait.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Get on hand, make sure you're voting on your city and state. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move this on because, we as Totally Naked are very passionate about our political viewpoints and where we want to see this country going. And we can't waste the whole show talking about that. So let's jump on in and let's take it to the co-parenting situation because, we need to talk about it, especially in this day and age. Now, let me tell you guys why we picked Jax and his lovely co-parenter.
Yeah.
And here's why, because we have never seen, I don't want to say never seen, let me not speak so broadly for everybody else, but Dominique has not seen someone so dedicated to their children's success, someone so invested as a father, someone who's unapologetically invested in their children, as Jax has been. Not only that, but we've seen, well, I don't want to say seen because we ain't physically seen, but we have heard stories from Jax about how him and ex-wife now, Pashay, has been able to work together as a real unit to be able to give the best possible situation for their children. And I have not seen personally two individuals that I have immediate access to be able to successfully co-parent in the way that Pashay and Jax have been able to do that. So we said, while we sitting on these jewels and on these nuggets, baby, we got to deliver it to the people, okay? So with that being said, that is why we are delivering it to you from their perspective, because y'all, they doing the darn thing for the millennials, okay? They really showing us some key things here. Would you agree, April?
I do. I definitely agree. And so while we have everybody's ear, if you guys could be, and we'll just ask Miss Pashay, because we talk, y'all hear from Jax all the time, but we do not hear from Mrs. Pashay. So could y'all just enlighten the listeners and viewers on your journey for co-parenting and, how that began and what that looked like to start? Can you hear us, Pashay?
Yeah, okay. I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me on the show with you. Co-parenting has been it's a big deal because we don't want to do it wrong.
Right.
And, we only get one chance to raise our kids. And when we decided that our marriage was not going to work, one thing we knew was that our kids had to be the most important thing at the forefront of every decision. We didn't want any baby mama drama, baby daddy, all those things that we hear about sometimes, but we just knew that we were already altering their world and, shaking that up, and we didn't want it to affect them any more than it had to. So as much as possible, we wanted to stay on the same page with things. We wanted to make sure we stayed in communication, because I've seen, in other friends, family, where the parents are not communicating well. So then the kids kind of slip through the cracks, or they get away with more things than they normally would if both parents were in the same household. So, and that was kind of a big thing for me also, was knowing that we have different parenting styles that complement each other so well. And I didn't want to lose that with us getting divorced. I wanted them to still be able to benefit from me kind of being like that really strict parent, and sometimes not knowing when to let up, with Jax saying, okay, they're boys, they're okay. And, kind of balancing that out. So that was a major factor when we first decided to get divorced. Our biggest thing was, how do we make this as easy as possible for the kids? I come from, my parents divorced when I was younger, and I think their example helped me and Jax
Okay.
kind of know which direction we want it to go.
Right. It is so weird. It is so weird for me to hear you call me Jack. You already know that, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I know. So I haven't called him that in a long time.
Well, what do you call him?
Robert.
Oh, girl, call him Robert. Then, girl, don't give him no privileges on this show.
I used to call him Jackson. I used to call him Jackson when we first met.
Right.
But my parents divorced. What'd you say?
I said, but then something changed that, but I'm not going to get in that. Go ahead.
Yes. I got mad at him one too many times and started calling him by his real name. And I was like, you don't get a pet name anymore.
That part.
But my parents divorced when I was younger, so they did really well with co-parenting. We did a lot of holidays together. We were able to celebrate birthdays together. Even once my parents got remarried, they're both remarried, and we are honestly able to come together as one big family on those occasions. There's no, there's no bad vibes at all there. And so seeing that from my parents, I wanted that for my own kids. I didn't want it to be, well, call your daddy, your daddy can't come here, or, just all of that going through the kids. I wanted everything to be going through me and Jackson, and us just trying to put out there the easiest, the road with least resistance.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because I wonder, because sometimes we can see something negative in a negative light, but you actually had a picture of how it could work, and so you were able to mirror that, because
right. But I think that I've seen it both ways. I grew up with it in a positive light, but then I had friends who they had a baby daddy. They did not talk to him. It was just about child support, or it was just a lot of different issues that they couldn't agree on, and I knew I did not want that for us.
Right. I agree.
And at the end of the day, I think it helped that we were still on good terms, but I think it could be done anyway, as long as you have a mutual respect for each other.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. The most important thing for me was the communication piece. And for me in general, that isn't easy. Me actually speaking exactly what I'm feeling, which is another reason that, but anyway, we'll get into that at another day. But we actually, when we first got divorced, set aside a time to communicate. I think it was Tuesday nights, maybe that we were on the phone and we talked about what I saw out of the kids and what she saw out of the kids, because sometimes kids will act differently with different parents, but we wanted to make sure that we were on the same wavelength. We knew exactly what was going on. If she said something and one of the kids was on punishment and they couldn't have TV just because they came over my house, you still not having TV. We needed to make sure that everything was copacetic and there was a yin and a yang there to kind of balance everything out. Right. And I think a lot of people, when they don't have that, they are selfish because they want it to be their way and they're not thinking about the most important thing, which is the kid. You know what I mean? So a lot of adults, I think, are not. They're just selfish, and they just want it done their way instead of looking at what's the most important thing out of all of this.
Right. I agree. I brought this topic up at a little, I guess, function recently, and someone made the comment to say that it's not always possible for people to be able to co-parent with each other. And I challenged it a little bit. I said, I think it's possible as long as you're able to ring in, where you and the other parent, if you're able to bring in the disagreements, bring in the negative feelings before it gets too far. Because a lot of times we let it get too far to the point where Pache was saying, now you're dealing with, I only want to talk to you about money now. I only want to talk to you about other things because I just can't deal with you anymore. Me as the parent can't deal with the other parent anymore because they've let it gone too far. And unfortunately, children suffer from that.
Right, and that's an emotional thing, and it
Right.
comes and it can come both ways, because in that case, the woman needs to kind of get over her emotions, but the
Yeah.
man also needs to make sure that he is not turned off and disconnecting because of those emotions. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like, you still, as
Mhm.
the man, need to be kind of present and persistent, even though she's doing whatever. All you can do is do the best you can and help her through those emotions, or wait until she gets over them.
Right. And this is from a perspective of people who were married, because I come from a different perspective. I'm also a single parent, but my perspective was we were very, very young when we had my son. We just grew apart. It wasn't a situation of anything bad happening. It wasn't a case of my heart was broken or anything like that. It was a case of, listen, we are actually kids. And now that we're growing and maturing into adults, we realize that we're not the same people. However, we don't have a terrible co-parenting relationship. We don't have a terrible friendship, for lack of better words. However, it's still not to the where I feel like you guys have arrived to. And not even just because we live in separate states, but I should be able to feel your presence in my son's life if your presence is that heavy, right? And so from that perspective of co-parenting, I can understand how it gets difficult, because you don't want to force the other person's hand to step up and do something that they should do. It's kind of like,
Absolutely.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, a lot of the times people don't feel like, and I can say that for myself, I don't feel like fighting with you about what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
I don't feel like dragging you through our court to make you do what you want to do.
Now, there's a whole nother level to this, There's a whole nother level to this, because, and I think me and Pashe might have had this conversation before, because I honestly, to be completely transparent, we on Totally Naked, I think that she was probably more prepared mentally to be a parent than I was, if that makes sense. Because it just is what it is. And so the thing is, a lot of times, and you just said something that they should be stepping up and doing, but you sometimes are asking somebody to do something that they aren't equipped to do. So you can say, you have a kid, and so now you need to be a father, but if they aren't equipped to be a father, you can say that as much as you want. You're not equipped to do it. That's almost like saying, okay, go ahead and you need to go into battle, but don't put on none of this armor. Don't put on anything. Just go out there and just fight. And that's not how things are. So a lot of times we just need to maybe take a step back and see it from that other person's perspective before telling somebody what they should and shouldn't do. You got to make sure they got the right equipment in order to make it work.
So how did you get?
And that's absolutely. I totally agree with that. Because I do know, when we first even got married, we didn't have to take a premarital class, but we did. We did a whole workshop just because we wanted to make sure that our communication was there. We wanted to make sure that we were equipped with the right tools to try to be as successful as possible in our marriage. So it was almost the same when we got divorced. There's I think it's called Children First in Divorce class. It's not a requirement that you take it, but I wanted us to take it because I knew we had 3 kids, different ages. All of our boys are 2 years apart, but I knew it would affect each of them differently. And I wanted us to be as prepared as possible for how to handle what was going to come out of our divorce. So just things we didn't even think about. And I will say, even, we've been divorced, 6 years, I think. So even now, I know actually, it was this year in 2020, we were making a decision kind of separately, but also it involved our kids. So we wanted to consult each other. And we ended up going to see a counselor just to talk it over with a third party, just so we know that we are putting our kids first. If we're not thinking of how this might affect them, we wanted that third party to say, well, did you think about this? Did you think about that?
Right.
So we're just always trying to stay as equipped as possible because we don't know everything. We come from, with our backgrounds, if our parents weren't in our household, that can change the things that, the tools you bring to your own adult life.
Right.
And so when you don't have those tools, go out and find them is the big thing. Like I researched like the work we did before we got married. That wasn't really well advertised. It wasn't anything I knew of anyone else doing.
Wow.
But I was trying to find something that would speak to both me and Jackson. Same with when we got divorced. It was, okay, I don't really see the resources out here, but I'm going to do whatever I can to find them or talk to whoever we can. If we need to speak with someone in the church, if we need to speak with someone in our family that might just give us a different outlook on things. So don't be afraid to ask for help to get those tools that you need.
Right.
That's good. Can I ask a question? And you don't have to really go too deep into it, but just for our viewers, at what point do you both feel that you started separating my emotions from, the relationship aspect of it, to saying we truly need to just start straight focusing on the co-parenting aspect of your new normal? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
It does. Jackson, do you want to answer that?
You can go ahead.
So for me, there's so many different layers that come with a divorce. So when we first got divorced, we were in an okay place, but you could be okay one day and then I could see your family on TV in a commercial and be like, oh, my family back, So my emotions would go up and down a lot with that, just because I knew at the end of the day, I felt like I was changing life for my kids and I didn't want to do that. Also, Jackson and I had a friendship as well. So there's a part of that where initially when we got divorced, I felt like we kind of lost a little bit of the friendship, just because that's a lot of change. Divorce isn't meant to be something easy and happy. So I know for me, it probably took a couple of years, honestly, for me to be able to separate my emotions between just co-parenting and also not being married. I don't know that it always showed to Jackson, but I know that I did internalize some things, just being a woman, being a mom, and wanting to always know that we made the right decision.
Right.
So it took me a couple of years probably, but we still co-parented well in the beginning, even throughout that time. It wasn't really high emotion or anything like that, but probably internally I still carried a lot initially.
Okay, got
it. I'm very businesslike when it comes to the emotional side, and that might be a bad thing. I can switch gears pretty easily. I'm very good at compartmentalizing one aspect of my life from another. So a lot of the times it will look as though I'm emotionless because I'm about business when it comes to handling my kids, even though I know I should be emotionally in tune with their mother. But sometimes it can come off as emotionless because I'm in my head, I'm about business and trying to do things right for my kids. And somebody who really doesn't know me might not get that. But I think as people get to know me, they understand that it's not emotionless. It's that when I take off one hat, I put on another one. I don't wear two hats at a time. And and I guess it might be a big difference between man and woman as well, because I'm one or the other. It's hard for me to do both at the same time.
And I do agree with what he said. I think that made it, just a little bit difficult for me because he can be so business-like. Like it's just the next transaction, it's the next thing on the to-do list. He's really big on the to-do list. Like, okay, I checked off this on my to-do list for the boys. I checked off that for co-parenting. I checked off that. But for me, it seemed like it went from, you know, us being one unit to now we're a to-do list almost, but that's just how Jackson kind of had to process things for him. And I processed in a much different way. So I think that's why it was probably harder for me initially,
right?
As far as my emotions go, because he just completely turned off his emotions is what happened.
Right.
I believe it.
And the thing is, I wish, because at this point, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, at this point, I think we're probably better friends than we were when we were married, because it's like now we like know each other instead of just trying to get work done. Does that make sense? Like it's a different dynamic. When we got married, taking y'all back in time for a little bit, there was just a lot going on. I mean, we had kids. I was going over to Iraq for 16 months. We were like buying houses and cars, and we were spitting out more kids and trying to go on cruises and everything, and spitting out more kids. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh wait, we have to like do stuff together without things happening.
Right.
And it was a different, it's just different. It's just, I can't really explain it. You just kind of grow in separate ways, I guess.
Right.
One of my questions for Pache is that, you know, being that Jax does have a different personality from you, like you actually have some things in your heart and in your mind that, you know what, we both want to raise these our boys in a healthy fashion, but you know, he has his way, I have my way of handling it. How did you present that information to him? Because I know that sometimes some guys aren't always receptive to going to talk to somebody or like a new idea, like, okay, yeah, I think we should do this class. Like, was it easy for you to present that to him, or did you, like, what was your way of approaching him with that?
No, nothing is ever easy to present to Jackson, but I think that initially when we first got divorced and started our co-parenting and time sharing agreement to, you know, how often our boys would see him, whether that would be every other weekend, how many times during the week. One thing that really spoke to me was that I know a lot of people, they might get their children once during the week, maybe on Wednesday night and then every other weekend. And I remember Jackson saying he wanted to get them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So he already
had his days.
Well, and showing me something different. So I think although where it's hard for him to communicate with things sometimes, I could see how much he wanted to be in the boys' lives, that was not going to change. I could see that he was the one that actually came up with the idea, I believe. Didn't you come up with the idea, Robert, to do the weekly call?
Yep.
Okay. So, and that was a big thing for me because I know how hard it is for him to communicate sometimes. And the fact that we were going to be able to put the kids to bed one night and then every week know anything that needed to pertain to the boys, we could talk about and bring to each other. And it just made it, I think having that weekly call initially made co-parenting so much easier when it came to sharing information, number one. Even things that were hard to talk about, it was, well, this is the platform to do that right now, is on this call. Right. So I think knowing how hard he was trying softened me up a lot. And just made that possible for us to really stay on the same page. And
yeah.
I have a question for y'all both. Like, so what if, because you talk about like the fact that he was open to it, you know, and that he actually did give you he gave interest in the boys. What if it was on the flip side and you had a husband, or even, you know, like in Dom's case where you are a single parent and they're not as receptive or don't seem as interested? Not that they don't love their children, but maybe just don't seem as interested.
maybe it's some animosity there with the parents even still,
Right.
because it could have been a really bad break, a really bad divorce, which was not the case for us. But we know that is, excuse me, typically a lot of the ways divorces go. I think that involving a third party sometimes is a good idea. So whether you go, there has to be someone that can get you both to hear each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
even if that might just be a family member, your in-laws, your parents, to say like, this is about the kids. You guys need to sit down and talk about these things. So I would say either getting a third party. I don't think family is always best, which is
That's for sure. That's
right.
for sure.
Which is
Because
why
a lot
I
of
even
them,
said how we went to a counselor, and just to have someone else to bounce these ideas off of.
Yeah.
right.
But I
And
think that's really important.
right. I can't say that I was the most open when it came to going to counselors. Did I go? Yes, because my then wife, or wanted me to go. The funny thing is, I remember one of the courses that we took. I didn't want to go to. I mean, I don't. But again, if you want to go, we'll go ahead and go. We ended up being.
The one at the
but hold up, No, this was not the one at church. This was with it was a black couple who was doing it. But the thing is, they ended up asking us if we wanted to like teach it, because my thing is, I might not want to go, but when I am in something, I'm all in. Like if I'm here, I might as well be all in. So I'm not gonna be here and like half-ass it. So they ended up. Do you remember that? I can't remember the black couple's name, but they asked us if we wanted to help teach them.
Yes, I do remember her. Her name was Aaliyah.
Yes. Yes.
And yes, I don't remember the guy's name, but that was that first class we did for before we got married. And after we got married and had our oldest son, Bobby, they did reach out to us about being one of the couples to teach it. And we were like, we just got married. We don't even know what we're doing either. But I think the biggest thing they saw was that we were eager to learn. We were really trying to soak up all of the information they gave us.
Right.
So they would give us different exercises to do from week to week to say, okay, if you have a conflict, this is how you resolve conflict. We would go home and practice those things. And that was difficult for Robert. For me, I'm all about it. Let's talk about all our feelings. Let's practice everything that this book said. And I have 3 more books for us to look at. But that's not Robert at all. So I've called you 3 different names on here.
I know.
So that's not.
It's all the same.
But yeah, I think they could see that we were just so eager to soak up everything they were trying to teach us. But the one class I thought you were talking about was the one we did at First Baptist downtown. Do you remember when we did that? We were still married when we did it.
Yes, and it was like a 2-day thing, wasn't it?
Right, it was a weekend, like a weekend retreat kind of thing.
I do. Yes. I remember. Yeah, I remember.
But so listen, I believe in, if there's some resources out here, we're going to tap into them.
and she
and I do that for everything, whether that has been our marriage, parenting, when it comes down to what school should the boys go to. I would say those are the things that get difficult when you're co-parenting, honestly, or they can. And that's probably where I've had the most hesitation about approaching Jackson, is if I want to make a change for the boys that I just feel very passionate about, and I know he's not going to see it my way, I get really apprehensive about bringing that up. But even with those things, we have talked it through. We make a pros and cons list, and there's not been a case that we've not come out in agreement, actually.
Right. And even awesome. Even if she feels more passionate about it, or I feel more passionate about it, we agree and we all in with it. It is the decision. Like there isn't one person trying to pull the other way. That's our decision.
Right. Makes sense.
I have one question. Okay. Mm-hmm. Can I ask this? Okay. So if because right now you guys are talking about co-parenting and how the things that you guys are doing, like with the resources that you guys have done, and communication being like number one. Like, is there something that you guys see that by not being under the same roof is tough? Even though, because to me, you guys have like that Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, like y'all got that vibe going, where you know, like, I can't believe that they vacationing together. That, you know, like you guys do a lot together. So I guess the question would be to, like, with you not being under the same roof, is there something that you guys feel like, you know what, the boys are missing? Or do you feel like they're getting everything because you guys are doing such a great job at communication?
I never feel like I'm doing and this has something to do with my personality. I always feel like, yeah, I'm doing an okay job, but I could be doing more. I could be doing better. I could be doing, and that's, I think, a personality of mine that needs to change. But I'm always going to be striving to do something more and something better. As far as them missing something, not living under both of our rules. I'm sorry, not living under a roof with both of us under it. I don't think so, because if we feel like we need to get together, we'll get together. She and I have been on vacation and everything with the boys as divorcees and our kids. I mean, they get what they need from each parent, I think.
Absolutely.
And so, and again, as long as we're on the same accord and there's some good communication coming between the both of us, there isn't anything that they are missing. I grew up without my father, so I could be doing overkill, making sure that they don't have the feelings that I had growing up. And I mean, it is what it is. Like, I just want to make sure that they don't have that sense of abandonment or not being good enough for somebody to stay around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. So do you guys think that with the new COVID-19 pandemic that's going on, has that given you guys more challenges, or do you feel like, listen, COVID didn't stop this show at all?
Well, I would say initially for both of us, we are both self-employed entrepreneurs. So when COVID hit, that was just a huge stress and a big change just in our households in general because of the stress that came with COVID. Right. Then coming with that is we have 3 boys that are school age kids. So everything went to virtual schooling. Mm-hmm. The kind of work I do, I own a daycare, and I could not really pull away from what I do every day to do their virtual schooling. And that was a huge stressor, but very quickly, Jackson was like, I got their school. They're going to be doing the virtual schooling with me during the day. But it really forced us actually to have to depend on each other more than we ever have. Mm-hmm. Probably more than we had to even be married.
Right.
Because it was such a huge life changer, or it could have been for the boys, with them not being in school or, physical school, us having to do the virtual school. Our kids make, pretty good grades. They're great kids. We didn't want any of that to suffer. And I could see, number one, how them being home every day was already affecting each of them in different ways. Mm-hmm. My youngest, he's all about his schoolwork. He had a meltdown the very first day of virtual school because he thought he wasn't going to get logged in. And for me, I'm more emotional. So I know there was one day that me and my middle kid were at the kitchen table, both crying during the virtual school because we could not figure something out. But at the same time, Jackson has such a different personality, and that's where that yin and yang comes in and that balance. So I do honestly feel like they miss a bit of that. And I'm always going to feel that way because I'm always going to feel a little bit of guilt for our family not staying together, just because I want them to grow up in a 2-parent household. But we try to do as best as we can without being in the same household. But I do feel that just that balance, they don't always get that balance between both parents, because at certain points, I'm going to be the only one they're interacting with. So I'm really high strung right now because of all the stress from COVID or this or that. Mm-hmm. I feel like I don't want it to affect them so much as maybe it wouldn't if they had another parent that was in the household to say, hey, Posh, they're good. We're all good. So we had to go the extra mile to do that for each other, actually. And we did kind of check in with each other during COVID to say, okay, how are you doing?
Right.
How are you mentally? How are you financially? Because it affected a lot of things. But my biggest thing was the financial part we can get past. But if we're not good and mentally stable for our kids, that can affect them long term. So we can't wig out right now because of what's going on in our world. We have to still be, one team, check in on each other, which we did a lot of, and actually we continue to do a lot of still right now because we're still feeling the effects of COVID.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
I think you touched on some beautiful things, especially the whole and I'm just going to speak on it. I was trying not to, but I am the whole financial situation. And I know people have their own feelings about so supporting your ex-wife and or ex-husband or whatever it is. But the thing about it is the financial part of it. The reason why I don't want to say, oh my God, I want to make sure I'm using the right words when it comes to this. In my head, if the mother of my kids is not taken care of, my kids are not taken care of. And so if that means that some cash has to be placed there, because how are my kids going to be taken care of? Right. If she is not, does that make sense? And she is overly concerned about my mental state, which I 100% agree, because my thoughts can go all different kinds of ways. And a lot of times, her and her great mom, by the way, she has an excellent mom. That is my baby. They will check on me just to make sure that I'm in good spirits, that I'm doing, that my thoughts are where they should be, because I think from us being married, she understands that I can be very strong in certain spaces, but then in other spaces I may need some assistance, and she's just very good at sensing when I'm going to need some assistance, if that makes sense.
Right. Yep.
And I would say that's vice versa, though.
It does.
Because even with us being divorced and even remaining friends, we have a good co-parenting relationship. I can honestly say we're friends, but we're not the type of friends where we're on the phone talking every day. Like, we have our own life. You know what I'm saying? Right. We do mostly communicate about the boys, but I can send him one text that he'll pick out that keyword and say, okay, this is one of those times I actually need to pick up the phone and call her, versus just texting her back in an hour or whatever.
That just happened, what, Friday?
Yes. That just happened Friday. So, and that's why I say, like, we're still supportive to each other. But I know that it's not, I feel like we got lucky, and we do try hard to keep it with the good communication and all about the kids. And I know that's just not possible for everyone, but I do think the communication has to be the number one thing, and keeping the kids as the main focus. I know for one quick thing, I meant to say this earlier, when we first got divorced, our kids never really played us against each other when we were married. When we were in the same household, they never played us against each other, ever. And it was so crazy to me that when we initially got divorced, I mean, our kids, I think they were 2, 4, and 6 maybe years old. And my was it the middle one or the third?
Was.
Yes. So our middle one.
Not Will I Am.
Yes. He knew, like, okay, if I'm having a bad day, if I don't want to do something mommy said, I'm going to say I want to go to daddy's house. Well, I want to call daddy. I want to go to daddy's house. And I'm looking at him like, who is this kid? Because you've never tried to play us against each other, and our youngest did it a little bit. Our oldest never gave us any real issues with that. But seeing that made me, I remember telling Jackson, we have to stay in communication, because they're going to try to pit us against each other. They're going to, just because they saw it in. And kids are intelligent. And
Yes, they are.
Mhm.
that middle one, he saw it in like, ooh, I might be able to get away with something right now. And so, and it's really funny because they're such green kids, and so they don't really get into any trouble, but it would just be the little things. And so it just
Yeah.
made us want to stay more on top of everything and communicate even better.
Yeah. Listen, that's awesome. And your kids are amazing. They are amazing. They are respectful. They are sure of themselves. They know exactly what they, want. And I'm gonna tell you, Pashe, especially Bobby.
Yes.
Because when we first started doing Totally Naked and the kids would be at the house while we were recording, and I would say production because Bobby said he wanted to help us. And
Right.
Bobby told me one day, listen, don't call me
Look.
production.
That's right. My name is Bobby.
I said, Bobby, I am so sorry. Okay, I will not call you production no more.
That was too funny. That because he meant that thing. I don't call me production.
Don't call me production. I said, Bobby, I'm so sorry. I done crossed the line, and I apologize for that.
And you know what? That's funny though, because Robert has helped me see also, here we go with another name. Robert has helped me see also that they have their own personalities, and it's okay for them to express their personalities and be different. For me, it's me and my little brother. We're 9 years apart, so I'm not close in age with my sibling. His siblings are very close in age, which I loved about his family when we met, was that they were all so close in age, and I knew I wanted to have our kids close in age just so they could grow up close, with that close relationship. But I didn't understand the dynamics of siblings relationships, or even just that you have two kids, they're not going to be exactly the same. I thought me and my little brother were different because I'm a girl, he's a boy. There's 9 years between us, so we kind of grew up in different decades and this and that. Times had changed. But to see our kids' personalities, I sometimes didn't know how to embrace that really, and Robert would really help with that. So those are those things that I didn't want the boys to miss out on, though, is that
right.
Like I'm saying, if I couldn't embrace that in one of them because I didn't have the tools or the experiences to know that this is how a sibling relationship goes, or this is how it is when you have a middle child or what have you, Robert was there to say, it's okay. Like, chill. Right. They're good. He's the comedian, and this is this. And
Right. And I know we're trying to draw to a close and everything, but I want to make sure that yes, we know that communication is great, but another thing is trust. My thing is you have to trust the other parent to make good decisions for your kids. So my thing is there are a lot of things that she will do and will tell me, and my response will be, I trust you with that. Just do what you want to, just make the decision, because I trust you as a parent in order to do that, because I know she's not going to do anything that's going to physically harm the unit, physically harm the kids or anything like that. So just I trust you with the life of the kids. So just be sure of it and make that decision.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well,
nuggets.
Okay, they've been dropping bombs, and we are getting to the close of our show, which I really could talk to you guys a little longer about this. I am personally myself learning so many different tools that I can also implement and utilize in my own co-parenting relationship. So I'm so, I'm just soaking it all in, and hearing you guys even talk on this show. So, you can hear that there's still friendship there. You can hear that there's still love there. And not necessarily saying like a romantic love. I'm just saying that there is a love and a care that you both share, not only for each other, but also for the family unit, that although, like you were saying, Pashe, that's not how you wanted to see your family end up. But although that's the way that it went, but you guys were able to still secure and protect what was necessary in order to properly raise your children and be there for each other. And I think that that is, like I said, co-parenting done right. That's co-parenting done right. So just a real quick recap.
Right. Honestly, I know we got the co in front of it, but I think it's just parenting done right, because like there are
true.
That the truth of the matter is there are people that stay under the same roof and the communication isn't as great as your two, like the two of yours, that they're, you know, are not on one accord, and like maybe sometimes not even always being able to have the children's best interest, not because they don't want to, but it's just that it may be a difficult thing for them to be able to communicate what it is. I think communicate is like the word of the day for you guys in the show. Parenting, communicate. But no, we appreciate you guys. You guys are really doing a phenomenal job. It's to be admired.
Yes, it is. And guys, keep it up. Your inspiration. I know you guys are doing what is just best for your family, and you're just trying to make it from day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. But what you're doing is an inspiration to other people that you come in contact with, regardless if you really realize that or not. You're an inspiration for your friends, Pache, I'm sure. Jax definitely has been an inspiration to me being a single mom, and just being able to see how well you guys are doing it is such an inspiration for me. And it makes me feel it's possible, right? And so that I'm grateful to you guys. God bless both of you. I think that we all go through what we go through for other people. Like, that's just how it happens. You know, I was pregnant at 15, so I can help another pregnant 15-year-old, right? So, you know, I think it's awesome. But I do want to just say again, Pache, thank you, girl. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with us, and to share your wisdom with us, and to honestly, you know, be transparent and open enough to share your journey and your story with not only us, the co-hosts, but our viewers as well. Listen, Totally Naked loves you, girl, and we love Jax too.
Thank you guys. It's been great getting to know you guys and having this conversation. I'm always available to talk about kids. That's my passion. So I will go on and on for days. But it's been a great experience raising kids with Robert. So
absolutely. And thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And yeah, she can talk about kids. She's an entrepreneur. She owns her own daycare, Posh Childcare. She makes t-shirts. She can do whatever. She's great. She's awesome.
Okay, Pache, girl, we might have to pull you to side for some business talk. Okay.
I agree.
That's right.
That's definitely on the next vacation with you too. So we're gonna go on vacation with y'all.
Well, we just want to say thank you to our Totally Naked Nation riding with us and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. We just want to remind you that you can have successful co-parenting, and let's just cross off the co. You can have successful parenting for your children if we keep a few things in mind. Number 1, mutual respect. You have to have mutual respect and communication with the other person that you are co-parenting with, right? It has to be consistency there. You can't do something day 1 and not continue to do it day 2, 3, 4. We have to be consistent with what we are doing. Also, you have to understand that you may not be over the hurt that could have transpired between the personal relationship, but we cannot allow that hurt to get into the way of us parenting our children. Our hurt is secondary to the success of our children, and we need to keep that in the forefront of our minds. And then lastly, trust each other. Figure it out. If you don't trust this person with your heart, you have to understand your heart is a little separate. Well, not a little, a lot separate from how they're going to treat and take care of their children. And you would need to rebuild the trust, if not for your own, personal situation, but rebuild the trust so you can be able to parent the proper way. Well, we love you guys, truly. Please drop comments below. Let us know about your co-parenting journey. Is there something that we didn't talk about that we should know about? Hey, hook the sister up, because I'm willing to learn it all. We love you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, And please, guys, if you are feeling this information, if you thought this was great, share it, allow it to be a blessing to other people. Again, we love you, and we're checking out. Bye, everybody.
Father's Day. Bye.
Happy Father's Day.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.